the most favorite part of it for me is being able to see the transformation in Kate. Because it started as, I said, Kate, when we first met, I want to tell your story. Can I write your book? I think that I can help you. I think that I can do it. And she's like, well, I wanted to, but I know that it's very emotional. I don't think that I could write it by myself. And I said that I could help you. And literally, we left and I had to go back to my flight, and I got in the car and I thought, oh shit, what did I just do? I just offered to write her a book, and I don't know how to do that. And I've never done that before. And 10 minutes later, she texted me and said, can we set up a phone call about writing the book? And I thought, okay, I'm in it. I'm in it. And so getting to see this transformation in her in this process, and when the book came out, it has been incredible because she owns it. And she wants to help other people. And I'm just so proud for her.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for this. This is going to be just a casual conversation. Yep. I want to thank you for taking this on and believing in this story. I'm in marketing. I'm a writer. I could do this. I thought I could do this. I've long been wanting to write a book about what happened, but it was just too close and too overwhelming, and I kept avoiding it, and then I met Elisa, and we talked through my story, and I think we talked for 3.5 at least hours. It takes that long to get through my story, and literally at the end of it, she's like, I need to write, this needs to be a book. I need to write this story. And I said, okay, let me think about it. And it didn't take very much. By the end of the day, I was like, yep, let's do this. It's been an amazing process. It's been a labor of love. It was so hard. I avoided even doing the recordings that I needed to do to tell the story to give to her. She pushed me to just keep going, and I can't even tell you how hard that was, and the editing process and re-triggering myself, but this is the culmination of it, and I'm so proud of us, and
absolutely, we made a great team.
I can't believe we did this. So I'm going to read a passage from chapter 3. And then I think afterwards we'll just open it up, and can we just have a conversation about domestic violence and gun violence and the intersection between the two, and any questions you have for us.
Please think of questions. We'd love to interact and answer questions.
Okay, so this is Killing Kate, chapter 3, Married, day 1. Tom and I had a whirlwind kind of romance. It clicked quickly, like a child learning to read. There was that moment when it felt expansive. It made sense. And I couldn't go back to the way it was before. I could only continue to move forward. We hopped on a plane to Vegas. We stayed on the Air Force base there. We booked a ceremony at a little chapel. I was 3 months pregnant with our baby. I felt complete, excited for the future ahead. Then this happened. Sorry. The morning after our wedding.
Kate, you never have to be sorry.
Okay, I know. I know. This is emotional. No, I got it. Come on.
You're awesome, Kate.
Thank you.
Published author.
Thank you. This is harder than I thought. Okay. The morning after our wedding, we decided to drive away from the Vegas Strip to have brunch.
We had eggs Benedict with hash browns and bacon. We had regular conversation. Then we got into the rental car and headed back. In a casual and matter-of-fact way, Tom mentioned, you know, when my ex-wife left me, I went through the process in my head of how I would kill her. You might ask if I felt chills, had a dramatic response upon hearing this, or wanted to jump out of the car. I did not. Because really, how do you process such a statement, delivered aloofly, as no big deal? Think about it. It was the day after our wedding. We were driving back from brunch, and he delivered this random statement from left field. I wasn't expecting to hear such a confession from him. He didn't say it as a threat to me. It wasn't directed to me or about me. It felt confusing. I wondered if he was joking. It was that nonchalant. I looked at him. What? Come on, you're not serious, are you? I said. Yeah, I was going to kidnap her, kill her, put her in the trunk, and dump her body, Tom said. That's not normal, I said. What are you talking about? It was a very strange conversation. I didn't feel terrified. He displayed a lack of emotion when telling me his thoughts. That to me conveyed a disbelief in my mind that he was capable of that type of criminal behavior. I certainly didn't believe he was capable of murder. I continued saying that it didn't make sense to me. He went on to explain that the therapist he saw after his wife left him said that it was a normal part of the grieving process, that there may be anger toward the other person, and he might think about ways he would kill her. When he told me, what he told me was that his therapist validated his thoughts as normal. But I went right back at him. I told him I'd had relationships before and had been divorced before, and I had never, ever had a thought about killing someone. He waved his hand dismissively and said, oh yes, well, it was just part of my process, but I got over it. In retrospect, you're damn right. I should have jumped out of the car right then. At that time, though, I didn't feel threatened. I couldn't relate to his thoughts, but I reasoned them into making sense in my head. Okay, sure, maybe some people do let minds go there after a breakup. But it was also a bizarre statement to bring up the day after getting married. And I thought he couldn't really be serious. That was out of character for the man I had just married the day before. I remember wondering if the therapist was right. Tom said she cheated on him. Maybe he was hurt and angry. I was naive. Though. I didn't understand what he was really telling me. My mind could not comprehend that he was capable of murder. It is only now that I can reflect back on that conversation and see it for what it was. Yes, it sure as hell was a direct threat toward me. He was telling me that he considered killing his wife before me because she had left him. Tom was telling me the day after our wedding that if I left, he would kill me. It was a warning. It was a giant red flag, but I didn't recognize it. Later that night, Tom began grilling me about past lovers and asking me direct and uncomfortable questions. This was under the guise of getting it all out on the table. He judged me for a one-night stand. He was hammering me for details I didn't want to give. He grilled me on the entire scenario, wanting step by step how the tryst unfolded. Tom asked me to vividly describe my dating and sex life details up until I met him. I had an overwhelming feeling of discomfort. I should have told him to fuck off, but I just kept answering his questions. After demanding details of my past sex life, he began bragging to me about his conquests. about how women were so attracted to him, particularly a married woman who worked with him at Andrews Air Force Base, a civilian woman who was frequently going into his office, flirting, laughing, and touching his arm. I could feel jealousy bubbling inside as he described her having long blonde hair, which he loved. I'd been there before, with men in the past, the process of sharing details of your previous relationships as you get to know each other. But Tom was judging me. He shamed me, saying, "That's not very ladylike of you." "Well, what about you?" I said. "You just said that when you were single, you had sex with a lot of different women." "Well, that's expected from men. It's not very ladylike of you," he retorted. He was shaming me for things that were in my past that I couldn't go back and change. It was acceptable in his eyes for him to do it because he had a double standard. Men can just sleep with as many women as they want, but a woman is a slut if she has sex when she's not married. I asked him about that, and he just shrugged it off. That was the day after our wedding.